There we go. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. My name is Megan, and I am a full-time volunteer with Invisible Children. By a show of hands, how many of you have heard of Invisible Children before? Whoa. All right. Mostly everyone. That's awesome. For those of you who don't know, Invisible Children is an organization that works in Uganda, striving to end Africa's longest-running war and rebuild the war-torn regions there. I'm here today with my teammates Bryce and Proskovia, and we are traveling around the country spreading word about this war and telling people how they can get involved. My teammate Proskovia is actually from Uganda, and after this film that we watched tonight, she's going to come up and share with you her stories about what it was like growing up in Uganda during this conflict. But before that, we're going to show you a film called Go. It's about 40 minutes long, and it shows 3 American high school students getting involved with Invisible Children and winning a trip over to northern Uganda. After that, Proskovia is going to come up and share her story, and then we'll open it up for a time of question and answer. So without using up any more time, here is Go.
Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. Well, my name is Asimwe Proskovia. I'm 19 years old from northern Uganda, and I'm here advocating. So thank you very much for having us. Just like Lillian, Gloria, and Papito, I personally grew up in northern Uganda during that time of the war. And I also passed through the same experiences, just like they also passed through the same. So just as it was stated in the update, that I'll be in position to explain why is it so important, for me to be as a student in the scholarship. But before I explain that, I'd love to share with you briefly my story as a child who grew up in the war-torn region, because in most cases people do call Uganda as a war-torn region. So I personally grew up in northern Uganda, and I didn't live with my parents. I stayed with my auntie who kept me all this long, and she managed to take me to a elementary school, since that is a free education in Uganda. But when time came for me to join a high school, it was a little hard, since she fell sick to the extent that she couldn't really raise money. She couldn't really do any productive work that could make her get money to put me to school. So since I really had that heart of going to school, and in Uganda, once you're not educated, once you don't have a certificate or a diploma or a degree, you're not considered as somebody. So I had to move in and live with my grandmother, where I began attending a high school, which was also a displaced school. By a displaced school, I mean a school that has moved from its original site to the town part of it just because of the war. So she was able to pay my school fees just because she would only pay part of the fees, and part of the fees was paid by the government. And moving in to live with my grandmother was worst, since she was living in the village part of the country where the war was really more serious than where my aunt stays. And moving to live with her, that forced me to night commute. And by night commuting, I mean moving from your home to a safer place in town. And that one, it was over 2.5 miles. That is from my home to a safer place in town, in order for me not to be abducted or in order for me not to be killed. So it was somehow very hard, on my side, because I had to move, go, sleep, then come back, and again in the evening do the same, and you have also to go to school. But to some extent, it was also a good part of it, because out of the movement, when I was 14 years old, that's where I met the people from Invisible Children. They went to the night commuting shelter, and they began interviewing those of us who were interested in becoming members of Invisible Children. So out of series of interviews, that's how I personally became one of the first 100 students in the scholarship. And that's how I realized that at least I have a vision, at least I have a future, and at least I will be somebody in the future. So Invisible Children paid me for 3 years in that school. And after the 3rd year, they transferred me to Gulu Secondary School, which was a little better. And as I joined Gulu Secondary School, I became the student leader. As I was the student leader, that's how I realized that though I was having these challenges of school fees and the challenges of the war, it wasn't only on my side. Though I'm in the scholarship, very many students in my community are not yet in the problem. Reason being, you'll find that somebody is missing school or somebody didn't come to school, and you'll ask the person, why didn't you come yesterday? Then she's like, I really couldn't come just because I had to take care of my siblings and I had to look for school fees, or I had to look for money to get school uniform. And that's how I realized that the problem wasn't all on my side. So I graduated from a high school last year, and of recent I've been accepted in Gulu University, which is one of the universities in northern Uganda, where I'll be concentrating in business and development studies just because I want to work with my community. I want to help my community just as I was helped. But though I graduated from a high school, I personally am one of the very few girls who made it to the university. Since 99% of the girls in northern Uganda do not graduate from a high school, and 93% of the boys do not graduate from a high school. So it's like I personally am one of the very few ones who made it to the university. But though I made it, very many there home are still seeking for the same education. Since out of being a student leader and out of being a leader in my community, that's how I realized that the biggest challenges that the youth in northern Uganda are facing is education. Since we are all looking at education as the only way to a sustainable peace in northern Uganda. As I speak, people have moved all from the camps, people are back home, and everyone, the elders are looking at cultivation as the only way to rebuild their homes. And the young ones are looking at education as the only way to a sustainable peace. Since Joseph Kony himself didn't graduate even from a high school, we believe that if he was somebody who was educated, it wouldn't have continued like with fighting. So that's why we look at education as the only way to a sustainable peace. So you may ask yourself that, as a young girl, how did you overcome all these challenges? I overcame all my challenges just because Invisible Children gave me the scholarship, and Invisible Children also granted me a mentor. A mentor is more of a mother to me, because out of her guidance and counseling, that's how I personally overcame my challenges, and that's how I personally managed to excel up to the university. But though though I'll be joining the campus, the young ones, I'm looking at the way of helping them, but there is no way that I can help them at this level unless they start the journey, then I pick them on the way. So I believe that with the few words that I've said, or with the part of story that I've shared, I personally believe that education will be the only best way to support a child in northern Uganda. So thank you very much for listening. This is my teammate Bryce, who will be answering all your questions, because I know out of the story, out of the movie that you've watched, you have questions that we need to answer. Thank you, Bryce. You're welcome.
Thank you guys again so much for being here. I just want to thank Praskovia for sharing her story. And every time, I'm so happy to hear, and it blows me away, because it's one of the success stories that we've had in the Legacy Scholarship Fund. And this is just one of them. And we have 800 other scholarship students in the program, which is so awesome. I want another round of applause for Praskovia, please. Thank you, guys. We have been on tour for about 8 weeks now, and I've realized in the 8 weeks, and this is something I'm learning and I'd like to share it with you guys, that the army of evildoers is much smaller than the army of good people. But the problem is, the army of good people is silent. And I think seeing this movie and hearing Praskovia's story, that we all have a personal responsibility of acting on it, raising our voices for the people of Northern Uganda. And the best way that you guys can do that is through our scholarship fund. And through that, you guys sign up $35 a month, and you receive this t-shirt. If you sign up today in these 2 movies, we're giving you guys the Rough Cut and Go. We want to show you guys, or giving you this, because it's going to prepare you and help you. These are tools so you guys can advocate on the behalf of Northern Uganda. And we're so excited about this. And we encourage you, for the Legacy Scholarship Fund, to help us out there, because you guys are the ones that are going to make that difference. We're going to, at this time, open it to question and answer with Praskovia and myself. So if you have any questions about Invisible Children, Northern Uganda, or Invisible Children, go ahead and ask it, and we can answer it for you. There we go. That's a good question. Actually, yeah. A good portion of our Schools for Schools program, we do 5 incentives for each school. Sanitation is a giant part of that. Without proper sanitation, latrines, wells, drinking water, there's no way that these students can go to school. For Schools for Schools, one of our projects is wells. That's just a small portion of it. We have 4 other things: teacher incentives, books and supplies, building materials. So the list goes on. But wells and sanitation is a big portion of what the Schools for Schools program is, and that's what GO is covering. Yeah.
Once they get an education, are there jobs, in their area? Or do they have
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to pass that off to Praskovia. She lives in Uganda, so what a better person to answer.
Okay, the question is, once we are given education, is there a job? Yes, there are jobs, though there are few jobs in Uganda, but I personally believe that by educating somebody, we can be the job makers, but not the job seekers. So we are the people to open the new types of jobs in the country, but once you don't go to school, there is no way that you'll create a job. Thank you.
I love that answer. It's also really cool. Invisible Children has employed people in northern Uganda. 80 out of our 85 staff in Uganda are Ugandan. Also with that, we employ about 4,000 farmers. We help them start up their cotton industry. Cotton was a big part of northern Uganda and their economy, and since the war started, it has completely disappeared. So what we're doing with this black t-shirt, there's a gray one and the crane. Those shirts actually made in northern Uganda with our cotton. And then through our bracelet campaign, each one of our bracelets, like the one I'm wearing, which is Grace, is made in northern Uganda. So it's really cool that Invisible Children has stepped in, not to really fill that gap. Our mentor, Peace, does this every time. She talks about teaching them to fish and not giving them fish, which is every time it gets me, because I think it's such a cool opportunity for us to help out through a partnership between Invisible Children and the people of northern Uganda. So jobs are a giant part of rebuilding that economy. Is there another question out there?
What's the dominant religion?
Dominant religion. I'm going to let Praskovia answer that for you. Prominent religion.
The permanent religion in Uganda? Okay, Uganda has a country. It's like a Christian part, but in most cases we have both Catholic and Protestants. So we are not only based on one religion. That is the real fact. So we have both Catholics and Protestants, and we have very few Muslims. Yeah.
If there's any more questions out there. Yeah.
What if someone wanted to become a roadie or go to Uganda? How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. She's asking about the best way to get involved to go to either Uganda or become a roadie. All of our applications for roadies are online. They're out for next spring. Spring is going to be our largest tour, and we're looking for roadies. So if you guys are interested, definitely come talk to Megan and I. We can show you the website to get that application. And the best way to go to northern Uganda is through our Schools for Schools program. We challenge schools every year. The school that raises the most money out of their region, so this is the Middle America region, wins a trip to northern Uganda. And this year, we're challenging colleges to do book drive. And I talked to Josh a little bit. He's kind of leading up the ISU Uganda. We talked about doing the book drive here, and it's going to be really exciting because you guys can have that ability. One person from ISU can go to northern Uganda through that. The book drive is honestly getting as many college textbooks as you can, and I think you guys can do it. You have a giant school, which is super awesome. So what a better place to do it. But that's a really good question. Thanks for asking. I think we're going to wrap it up now, but I want to say one more thing, that you guys are we're the future of this generation. We're the ones that are the future doctors and lawyers, and I want to partner with northern Uganda in doing so we can have the future Praskovias helping build up northern Uganda through this partnership. And the best way to do that is through the Legacy Scholarship Fund. And that's number one. Number two is a purchase through our merchandise. All of our merchandise goes directly back to northern Uganda. And also a great way of helping out. And the third way is partnering with ISU Uganda. That's a club here at ISU. You guys are raising money. Not only that, you're doing the book drive. It's going to be super fun, and I think it's going to be a great way to learn more about Northern Uganda and also spread the word and raise awareness about this. I want to thank you guys again so much for being here tonight. We are so excited. And if you have any questions, come see us at the merchandise table. Thanks again.